From the 1850s to the mid-20th century, India was known as the jewel in the crown of the British Empire. This wasn't just a poetic metaphor, it was an apt description of the crucial role India played in the empire's global dominion. The East India Company, a British corporation, initially seized control, exploiting India's vast resources and labor force for economic gain. The company's rule eventually gave way to direct governance by the British Crown, leading to profound political changes in the subcontinent. The British reshaped India's societal structures, imposing Western ideals and practices, often at the expense of local traditions and customs. Their thirst for resources led to the exploitation of India's wealth, leaving a once prosperous nation impoverished. Yet this period also sowed the seeds of a new consciousness, a growing sense of nationalism among the Indian people. This was a period of significant transformation for India, setting the stage for a struggle that would last nearly a century. As the years passed, the seeds of discontent began to sprout among the Indian populace. The Revolt of 1857, often referred to as India's first war of independence, was a significant marker of this rising dissent. Fueled by a range of grievances against the British, from economic exploitation to cultural insensitivity, the rebellion was a clear signal of the simmering resentment. As the 19th century drew to a close, the formation of the Indian National Congress in 1885 marked another milestone. This political party, the first of its kind in India, sought to secure greater rights and representation for the Indian people within the British administration. The dawn of the 20th century saw a surge in nationalist sentiment. The Indian people, inspired by global movements for self-determination, began to question their colonial status more assertively. It was clear that the winds of change were beginning to blow across the Indian subcontinent. In the early 20th century, a new figure emerged on the scene, a man who would become synonymous with India's struggle for freedom, Mahatma Gandhi. Born Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, he later became known as Mahatma, or Great Soul. Gandhi was a lawyer by training, but he became a leader by conviction. His philosophy of non-violent resistance, or satyagraha, was a novel approach to political struggle. Instead of escalating conflict, Gandhi's method aimed to resolve it through truth and non-violence. His philosophy was not just a political strategy, but a way of life. In 1915, after spending 2 decades in South Africa, where he first began to use non-violent resistance, Gandhi returned to India. His return marked a turning point in India's struggle for freedom. He took the helm of the Indian National Congress and transformed it into a mass movement. Under his leadership, the Congress became a platform for ordinary Indians to voice their aspirations for freedom. One of Gandhi's most significant contributions to the freedom struggle was the Salt March of 1930. In a show of defiance against the British salt tax, Gandhi and his followers marched over 200 miles to the Arabian Sea coast. There, Gandhi made salt from seawater, breaking the British law. The march was a pivotal moment in Indian history. It demonstrated the power of non-violent resistance and was a direct challenge to British authority. Then came the Quit India movement in 1942. Gandhi called for the British to quit India and for the Indian people to engage in non-violent civil disobedience until they did. This movement marked a significant escalation in the struggle for independence, with Gandhi and many other leaders arrested and detained. Gandhi's methods were unconventional, but they struck a chord with millions of Indians and made the world sit up and take notice. His philosophy of non-violence and truth continues to inspire movements for civil rights and freedom across the world, cementing his place as one of history's most influential figures. The 1940s marked the final stretch in India's long and arduous journey towards independence. This decade was characterized by a series of events that accelerated the inevitable end of British rule in India. World War II had a significant role to play. The British, embroiled in a global conflict, were increasingly strained for resources and manpower. The empire's vulnerability did not go unnoticed. Across the Indian subcontinent, the call for Purna Swaraj, or complete self-rule, grew louder. At the forefront of this clamor was Subhash Chandra Bose, a charismatic leader who believed in the power of direct action. Bose formed the Indian National Army, or the INA. He rallied his forces with a single war cry: "Give me blood, and I shall give you freedom." The INA, although ultimately unsuccessful in its military objectives, sparked a wave of nationalism and defiance that swept across the country. Adding to the mounting pressure on the British was the Bengal famine of 1943. This catastrophic event, which claimed the lives of up to 3 million people, was largely a result of British policies and wartime measures. The famine's devastating impact further disillusioned Indians towards British rule and fueled the demand for independence. The British government, grappling with the aftermath of the war and the escalating unrest in India, began to understand the untenability of their position. The Quit India movement, launched by Gandhi and the Indian National Congress in 1942, had already signaled the Indian public's resolute desire for freedom. Despite the mounting challenges, the British held on, attempting to maintain their grip over the jewel in the crown. But the tide was turning against them. The Indian subcontinent, with its diverse populace united by a common cause, was on the brink of a new era. By the mid-1940 AS, it was becoming increasingly clear that British rule in India was untenable. On the 15th of August 1947, after nearly a century of struggle, India finally gained its independence from British rule. This date marked the end of an era where the Indian subcontinent was dominated by foreign powers, and the beginning of a new chapter of self-determination. The days leading up to this momentous occasion were filled with anticipation and excitement, but also uncertainty and fear. The Mountbatten Plan, which was hastily implemented as Britain's final act of governance, proposed a two-nation solution, a partition that would separate India and Pakistan. This plan was met with mixed feelings. While it offered a clear path to independence, it also meant the division of a land that had been united for centuries. Populations were uprooted, families were torn apart, and communal violence erupted in several parts of the country. It was a time of great joy, but also of immense sorrow and loss. Yet, amidst the turmoil, the spirit of freedom prevailed. From the bustling streets of Bombay to the tranquil ghats of Varanasi, from the vibrant bazaars of Delhi to the serene tea gardens of Assam, people from all walks of life came together to celebrate the dawn of a new era. The air was filled with the melodies of the national anthem, the tricolour fluttered proudly in the sky, and faces lit up with the glow of freedom. India's independence was not just a political event, it was a social revolution, a cultural renaissance, and an emotional catharsis. It was a testament to the resilience and determination of millions of Indians who had longed for this day, who had fought tirelessly for their freedom, who had dreamt of a future where they could shape their own destiny. And so, as the sun rose on the 15th of August 1947, India woke up to a new dawn. A dawn of independence, of hope, and of endless possibilities. It was a moment of triumph, but also a moment of reflection, a new chapter in the history of a nation that had endured so much. India's struggle for independence left a lasting legacy, not just for India, but for the world. This legacy is multifaceted, encompassing the impact on other colonial territories, the enduring influence of leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, and the challenges and achievements of independent India. The wave of independence that swept across India in the mid-20th century sent ripples to other parts of the globe, inspiring colonial territories to dream of self-governance. The success of India's peaceful resistance became a beacon of hope for nations under the yoke of colonial rule, illustrating that freedom could be achieved not just through violent revolution, but also through steadfast, non-violent resistance. A major figurehead in this struggle, Mahatma Gandhi, left an indelible mark on the world. His philosophy of non-violent resistance, or satyagraha, has influenced countless movements for civil rights and social change. From Martin Luther King Jr.'s civil rights movement in the United States to Nelson Mandela's fight against apartheid in South Africa, Gandhi's legacy of peaceful protest continues to resonate globally. But what of independent India? The journey post-independence has been marked by both triumphs and trials. On the one hand, India has made significant strides in various fields. It has grown into one of the world's largest economies, made remarkable advancements in technology and space exploration, and emerged as a vibrant democracy with a rich cultural tapestry. On the other hand, it has grappled with challenges such as socio-economic inequality, religious strife, and political corruption. Yet through it all, India's spirit of resilience and innovation continues to shine. The legacy of India's struggle for independence is not confined to its borders. It is a story that has been woven into the fabric of the global community, reminding us of the power of unity, courage, and non-violent resistance in the face of oppression. The story of India's struggle for independence is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of peaceful resistance. Remember, every nation's journey is unique, yet the universal longing for freedom and dignity connects us all.